Coming up, we travel from the mountains to the coast and revisit some of my favorite stories from the year. Next on North Carolina Now.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
Hi, I'm David Huppert, and thank you for joining us for this holiday edition of North Carolina Now. Throughout the year, I am fortunate to travel around the state and bring you stories about fascinating people, places, and events that take place across North Carolina. Tonight, we look back on some of my favorite stories of the year, ranging from Asheville's art scene to acrobatics on the Outer Banks. We begin our journey on Hatteras Island. North Carolina has long embraced its reputation as the first-in-flight state. 100 years after Orville and Wilbur took to the skies in Kill Devil Hills, a new breed of high-flying enthusiasts are making waves on the Outer Banks. We recently caught up with the action on Hatteras Island.
The thing with kiteboarding is there's just an on button and you go. You dive the kite and you're going, and it's full speed. And then you're away from everything that you had going on land. When Matt and I started Reel, people thought that we were absolutely crazy, because at that time in 2001, when Reel was started, the sport really wasn't accessible. There was a lot of power and there was no way to get rid of the power, and you had to be a very strong, very stubborn, very durable person to learn how to kiteboard.
Trip Foreman and his business partner Matt Nuzzo are like the Wright brothers of kiteboarding. They did not invent the sport, although Foreman was part of the first kiteboarding launch on the Outer Banks. But they have been a steady force in turning the once archaic experiment into a mainstream activity. Advances in kite construction and control have made the sport accessible to the masses, where riders are no longer battling, but rather dancing with the wind.
With all those different things, it's taken the sport from being, a sport that only the top-level pro athletes in the world could hope to do, to being a sport where we have boys and girls as young as like 7 or 8 years old and seniors in their mid-70s that are kiting from Reel and from Waterman's Retreat every day.
Reel Watersports is located on Cape Hatteras on the Outer Banks, which happens to be one of the best places in the world for kiteboarding. The calm, waist-deep water in the Pamlico Sound provides riders with miles of flat water to tear it up, as well as a place to stand if they want to take a break from the action. And most importantly, because Cape Hatteras is so far from the mainland, the wind conditions are second to none.
First and foremost, you'll never look at a flag the same once you become a kiteboarder. Wind is your friend in this sport. You become a part-time meteorologist to understand wind patterns, weather patterns.
If you look here, you see wind meters all across Cape Hatteras. We're going to go to the Reel Slake wind sensor. So this one here is showing me 19 lull, average 23. That's about as perfect wind as you can get. Great day to start 0 to hero. Ready for kite camp?
Reel Watersports offers a program called 0 to Hero that Outside Magazine ranks as one of the top 10 adventure camps in the world.
Okay, here we are, Cape Hatteras Kite Camp. So welcome to 0 to Hero. My name is Matt Nuzzo. I'm one of the founders of Reel here. As you find, getting here is not easy, but we're going to show you that the conditions here are amazing. Our goal is to make you guys self-sufficient kiteboarders. So for the next 3 days, our coaches here are going to jam information in your heads.
I'm going to be a hero by day one. I'm a hero already. I put the kite together like that.
Ideally, our best wind is side on shore, sort of like what we have now.
In order to get from 0 to hero, it helps to understand the fundamentals of how the sport works.
The pieces that are involved in kiteboarding, you have a kite, bar and lines, harness that allows you to support the kite by your own body weight, and your board. Those are the things that are necessary. So you rig the kite on the beach, inflate the kite, rig the lines.
You can take your other hand.
Then you launch the kite, put the board on your feet, ride.
Foreman explains that the wind and board do most of the work, while the rider simply points the kite in the direction he or she wants to travel.
You've got an oversized kite attached with 20 to 30 meter lines, which are then attached to a control bar where the kiter can steer the kite through the air, both to create power and then also to turn. and they have as much control over the kite as you do over your car. When you're driving it down the highway, they have 100% control over the kite, and they can also 100% depower the kite just by pushing the bar away from them.
Still skeptical of Foreman's car analogy, I decided to test drive the kite on solid ground.
So we're just going to practice flying the kite. It's what's called the edge of the wind window. Get ready!
There it is. You see, even there it has a bunch of power, right?
Sure does.
Right.
You don't have to turn it much.
Left, goes left. So it's like a bicycle or a shopping cart. You pull left, it goes left. Pull right, it goes right.
That is a lot of power.
Okay, a lot of power. So this is just a trainer kite. The hardest thing to do in kiteboarding is controlling the kite and having it stop.
He's a pro, he's ready!
Well, not quite. The Zero to Hero camp is 3 days long, and since this shoot was only 1 day, cameraman Pete Bell and I borrowed a pontoon from Charlie's Boat Rentals to get an up-close view of how the real heroes rip it up.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been kiting for about 10 years now, but living here on the Outer Banks, like I grew up surfing and windsurfing way back in the day, but it's always windy, like almost every single day all summer. And so kiting's great, just gets you out on the water, you know, almost every day.
Once you are on the water, it's just you, the board, and the kite. And as soon as you learn to harness the wind, you can turn virtually any trick and jump as high as 40 feet in the air.
It's really just like wakeboarding, but you're driving the boat and riding the board at the same time.
While kiteboarding is still in its infancy, the sport is boosting in popularity along the Outer Banks. Drive down Highway 12 and you'll see dozens of 12-meter kites soaring overhead, pulling riders of all ages and ability. Whether you are a zero or a hero, Cape Hatteras is an ideal place to kiteboard. The only problem? Every session must come to an end, but tomorrow is another day. And like that, they're gone with the wind. Our next story takes us from the sky to the still. Some people affectionately call it white lightning, while others refer to it simply as whiskey or Mountain Dew. Either way, Moonshine's legacy is married to the hills of North Carolina. And although the revenuers are long gone, their spirit remains.
Say you're at a little get-together or something, and somebody comes up and they get to talking to you and they say, what do you do for a living? And it's, when you look at them, you say, well, I make moonshine. And they look at you like, yeah, right.
Since 2005, Piedmont Distillers has been making moonshine, blending old-time recipes with modern machinery. The Madison-based company is one of 4 legal distilleries operating in North Carolina. Making moonshine was never illegal, but selling the untaxed and unregulated spirit was. In the mid-20th century, Western North Carolina was considered the moonshine capital of the world. Family recipes were as well guarded as the location of the stills. Today, there is plenty of homebrew available on the black market, but there is also a legal, and some say purer, option.
There's a whole lot of cornmeals in the bottom, but when you first make it and you put your sucrose in, it tastes like grits Mama fixed at the house.
Joe remembers the first time he tasted moonshine in the mid-90s.
And I was a little hesitant at first, but I took a sip of it and I was basically blown away at how the quality of the spirits and the flavor was so incredible.
A casual fan at first, Joe quickly became a student of the spirit, consuming all the moonshine folklore, recipes, and books he could find.
This is where we do the final distillation.
Sensing a market opportunity, he decided to open his own legal distillery.
I had found the only licensed and permitted distillery in North Carolina right here in Madison, and it was sitting here completely dormant, and it was literally 30 miles from my home.
Piedmont Distillers launched in 2005, offering its first product, Cat Daddy Carolina Moonshine.
As the saying goes, only the best moonshine deserved to be called the Cat Daddy.
This whole deal on the left here is kind of way Junior's daddy and my dad and Grandpa used to make it.
Junior Johnson roars down the pit road at 90 miles an hour, his crew frantically slowing him down.
Yes, that Junior, who also had a reputation as one of the best bootleggers in the state.
When I started the distillery, I had reached out through my contacts and said, Junior, would you like to get involved with Piedmont? And he's like, I don't know about all that. Let's get him.
A year or so later, Joe received word that Junior wanted to check out the operation.
I got a phone call one evening that said Junior wants to bring one of his boys from Wilkesboro up to the distillery. They want to see what it's like, how much is involved to go legit. So I said, sure.
Do that right there. You get the taste of it.
Impressed with what he saw, Junior jotted down his secret family recipe.
He says, "Here, have at it." He goes, "And let's see what you can do." So I made up multiple batches of the product. I went up to his garage, his shop, and all of him and his boys were up there having breakfast. They took those jars of original spirit and passed it around, and I think what sealed the deal that day was one of his friends said, "Junior, we've been trying to make this liquor for 50 years.
In 2007, Junior partnered with Piedmont Distillers, and the company launched Junior Johnson's Midnight Moon.
When Junior gets involved in a project, quality is number one. And although we have equipment that makes the product a little bit purer and higher proof than they were able to make it down by the creek, the process is very similar.
Being in that environment and work with the people that's did the moonshine like it's supposed to be, you're very proud of it. You don't have one batch good and one batch bad or something of that nature. They duplicate it exactly like it's supposed to be every time.
With his family name on the label, Junior wanted to make sure the moonshine was made in a way that would make his daddy proud.
Joe got with Junior, then they brought me on to bring in some of the old-timey ways they used to make liquor.
Brian's family has been making moonshine for 7 generations. Some of the machines they use today are decidedly high-tech. But the process itself has not varied much over the years. And it all starts with the mash. The cornmeal, yeast, water, and special ingredients will ferment in these white oak barrels for the next 3 or 4 days. After that, it's time for the still.
That's where the column still comes in. It brings it up to 190, smooths it out, and makes a real clean product.
Midnight Moon is the basis for all of Piedmont's spirits. The Cat Daddy also contains a few ingredients that this reporter was unable to identify. What are the secret ingredients in the Cat Daddy?
I don't know.
You make it.
I can't tell you. That's a good question. It's 2 flavors to make one. That's all I can say.
Piedmont Distillers recently introduced 3 fruit-infused spirits: strawberry, cherry, and apple pie. Each mason jar is hand-packed with fresh fruit.
The fruit naturally infuses the spirits with flavor and color, and some of the impurities and stuff naturally find their way into the fruits themselves, so it acts as a flavoring and a purifying kind of process. Fruit is absolutely fine to eat because alcohol, there is no better preservative than spirits, but I would tell you respect the fruits because it does absorb some alcohol.
Moonshine has always been a family-driven craft business, handed down from generation to generation. And that's exactly the way Joe and Junior want to keep it.
And Junior likes to come in here and check the mash every once in a while, make sure we're keeping it in the road up here in Madison, you know.
I might say a dream come true that this still was in North Carolina and the people have had the ability to obtain it and go forward with what we're doing now. I would kindly been reluctant to do it if it hadn't been in North Carolina.
So far this evening, we've been to the coast and the Piedmont. Next, we travel to the mountains, where the Asheville Department of Parks and Recreation continues to be a driving force in the community's vibrant art scene. Join us as we hitch a ride on the city's latest attempt to deliver art programming throughout the city.
We actually anticipate this to be a much more cost-effective way of bringing art programming out to the community rather than in the way that we were bringing it before. Before, we were relying solely on our recreation centers to be the venue for these arts programs, which meant that we had to have art supplies in every single one of those venues. Now I only need one set in one truck. How about I take 4 of you on the truck right now?
Diane Ruggiero calls the Easel rider a cross between a bookmobile and an ice cream truck.
So come on in.
A mobile art laboratory feeding Asheville's insatiable appetite for art.
I, heart, and then there's your burger.
We've been faced with a lot of budget cuts in the city of Asheville over the past few years. It was getting more difficult for us to use the rec centers as that arts venue, and so this really just enables us to to kind of just go where the people are now and not rely on them to come to where we're at.
Okay, so let me go ahead and hand everybody their paper.
As Asheville Superintendent of Cultural Arts, Ruggiero saw an opportunity to expand the role of public art, despite decreased funding for her department.
That looks cool. I like that one.
Her canvas? An old 1984 bread truck destined for the city's surplus lot.
It's called the Easel Rider. It's the Asheville Mobile Art Lab with everything in it. It's really cool.
It actually looks a lot better now than it did when we first inherited it. So this is really recycling or upcycling in its truest form.
You need a cardboard piece still? And you want to make one too? Okay.
Unlike traditional traveling exhibits, the Easel Rider curates each stop depending on where it's parked and who it's serving.
We're going to go and find different things around us, or we can cut out some different objects. With construction paper, you can cut out silhouettes of your hand, whatever you want, that's your choice. And then we're going to go ahead and expose them and hang them up here to dry. 1, 2, 3, flip it over, put your picture on it. Okay, so now just keep an eye on it and watch it as it starts to fade.
If the Easel Rider had a manual, it would read something like this. Load the vehicle with as many art supplies as possible, ask the community where art programming is desired, and hit the gas.
As we become more and more public, I'm expecting that people are going to be like, oh, you know, the Mobile Art Lab's here, the Easel Rider's here, and it's going to be a source of fun and a source of education.
Mark Coven is a sculptor and extended media artist who helped Ruggiero upfit the Mobile Art Lab. Together, they stock the Easel Rider with conventional craft supplies, as well as newer technologies like LED throwies. They also included an onboard generator capable of powering PA systems and a 6800 lumen projector.
Getting people involved, having like a mobile art lab that can go out to the community rather than require them to go to like a space allows us flexibility in what we can do. For me, it serves the community, it serves the artists, it serves the city. It's a win-win-win-win situation from my perspective. I really do. I think it's a great situation.
The fully equipped Mobile Art Lab hit the streets in early 2011 and quickly caught the attention of Asheville's art community.
When I first heard about this project, I was like, wait a minute, what? Like it has how many amps and like you can project how far and how, I mean, it's a really rare resource. I've never heard of anything like it before. So I think this project in particular surprised me, but the fact that it's here in Asheville is kind of like, of course it's in Asheville.
Elmer's book art focuses on community collaboration. So when the Easel Rider honked its horn asking for help at the Asheville City Market, she eagerly obliged.
I was invited by the city of Asheville to come and do recycled bookmaking as a part of sort of an Earth Day celebration at the market. So I was given a bunch of supplies by the city of Asheville Easel Rider, and they gave me a bunch of forms and cereal box covers and using all of that to make books of recycled materials with visitors for free. And I'm gonna get you some thread and a needle.
I'm making a book out of recycled paper. And I'm going to do the stamp here.
There you go. And then go ahead and pull that.
And that shows the date that I did it.
Art is something that we need more and more and more of. It's something that's joyful. It's a way to express yourself. And so I think that that's really the goal of the Easel Rider, to find those gaps in the community where there isn't art and try to bring that to the community and have people really enjoy it and embrace it. So I think it's a wonderful thing.
I love fish burgers.
And finally tonight, we take a closer look at the video game industry in our state. In 1996, author Tom Clancy co-founded Red Storm Entertainment, a video game company that quickly earned a loyal following thanks to its tactical-based military games. The Morrisville-based company is now a subsidiary of Ubisoft Entertainment, but their commitment to authenticity remains as vital as ever.
All right, we're rolling. Going hot. Quiet, please. All clear.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
What do you
Even
think?
I know, get that tail.
Shoulder hurting?
The main purpose for today's event is that we had a couple of sound designers working in the French office, in the Ubisoft office on Ghost Recon Future Soldier, that were involved with working on the sound effects that were going to occur with the weapons.
First thing I want you guys to concentrate on is your posture, okay?
What I want you to do is just stand with your feet shoulder width apart, just normally like you'd be standing on the street.
Before today, neither Xavier Montels nor his French colleague Diego Berndt had much experience shooting real firearms.
Just one time was Colt 45 and Desert Eagle.
Hands out in front of you.
As sound designers for video game producer Red Storm Entertainment, their mission is to create a fantasy world that looks, and in this case sounds, like reality.
The sound team leader decided that we needed to get them some time on weapons just to give them a feel for what it really feels like to experience the firearms, because that's what we're trying to get across in the game.
All clear.
Red Storm Entertainment prides itself on creating authentic environments for its video games. Their most popular games take a page from the Tom Clancy books, where gunfire is a constant companion. The company recognized the best way to create a realistic virtual world is to get its sound team some real-world experience.
We'd like to welcome you all to our event today. We'd like to thank Trigger Time for hosting our event. I'd like to go over with you some basic range safety rules.
Today's shoot covers everything from single-shot suppressed pistols to automatic rifles.
Special Forces unit.
In addition to shooting the weapons, the sound team is tasked with setting up various microphones to capture the source audio for future use.
We should definitely put the 416 as close as we can
on that side?
To the weapon, either side.
Okay.
And we'll get that like straight on.
All right.
The Red Storm unit spends the next several hours firing and recording various weapons. The hands-on experience allows the designers to capture pristine audio in its natural environment.
Is that what you're looking for?
Oh, that's perfect. The bigger the better.
In addition to capturing the cacophony of sound, the designers also benefit from learning the tactical use for each weapon.
We use this on the SWAT team also for if you're in the middle of a neighborhood or an urban environment and you take a shot, it doesn't disturb the neighborhood. People don't know what's going on and less likely to get riled up.
Requiring very little encouragement, they convinced this reporter to fire one of the biggest weapons in the arsenal. This .50 caliber BMG sniper rifle is effective from 1.5 miles away. That's assuming, of course, you have an effective shooter.
Take two. Cut that.
Back at Red Storm's RTP office, the sound designers are immersed in manipulating the raw audio they captured in the field.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. The biggest thing is it's great to have source that sounds this clean, but choosing how you present this to the player is the whole, that's the biggest part of it. Because all that matters, I could play you this all day and we'll be like, oh, that's really cool. But how does it sound like in-game? One of the biggest things that we try to do when we're listening to these sounds and then making them is to make them visceral. When you fire your weapon, to us, that's the most important thing in the game. I mean, that is our main character.
Accurately replicating the soundscape is just one part of Red Storm's authenticity program. The company regularly contracts outside consultants to showcase the latest in weapon manufacturing and design.
The authenticity separates us from the company that just finds the pictures on the internet and best guesses the details that they can't actually see. So we focus on that sort of stuff. And having the advisors come in to show us their actual weapons, real wear and tear, real damage, real materials, just adds to that level of authenticity that a lot of companies don't have. It's usually not a gigantic difference between authentic and not authentic, but it's the small accumulation of the details that will make it look correct versus not look correct.
Weapons artist J.D. Craig's professional commitment to authenticity stems from a personal connection.
I have a lot of military family, and we would play the games together, and I would just sit there and listen to my father go, that's not right, that doesn't look correct, this is the wrong vehicle for this kind of branch, that kind of thing. So growing up listening to that same kind of stuff, I can come into this job and kind of hopefully fix some of that. So our big thing is we do these visits, we come and get the weapons, and we'll actually look over every little detail we possibly can to make sure that the full model has, the correct irons, the number of Picatinny rails, the bolt detail, all the inner stuff, the curve kind of style.
The commitment to authenticity runs throughout the company.
So what exactly do you have going on here?
Vice President of Product Development, Elizabeth Laverso, describes the Clancy series as a thinking man's game, where authenticity is mission critical.
With the Tom Clancy brand, you know that you're getting authenticity and realism. We try to stay as true as possible to what real military tactics and operations would do.
When asked about the violent nature of its games, Laversal points out that the games do not glorify the shooting of civilians.
You have to realize the Tom Clancy brands are mature rated games, so they are not targeted at youth and children. And in fact, you're penalized in our products for useless sense of violence. So we do try to take a responsible look at where our products are, where the storylines are based, and just exactly how the missions play out, and we really focus on the actual military conflict.
What's cool about it is
as authenticity coordinator and as someone who maintains friendships within the armed services, Travis Getz takes pride in honoring those he considers real-life superheroes.
For me, they're heroes because they put their lives on the line for their fellow countrymen. That to me makes this job worthwhile, that I feel like we, in our small way, honor those people and what they do.
For more information on any of the stories we've featured tonight, log on to our website at unctv.org/ncnow and just click on the web links icon. Thanks for joining us and have a wonderful holiday.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.